Hello, and thanks for joining us on CN Live today. I'm Colion Noir, and we're going to check in with the Great American Outdoors Show and learn about a new three-gun fantasy camp a little later. But first, we're going to talk with the Top Shot Academy's Chip Eberhart. Dude, Chip, you realize I've never said your last name out loud?
I know. It's always just when,
yeah, it's just Chip. Yeah, like I don't like that. That's requiring too much work on my end. But how do I go about pronouncing it?
Yeah, Eberhart.
Okay.
Eberhart. Or just right. Chip E. Chip E is fine too.
Okay, Chip E. We're gonna stick with Chip E.
Okay. How you been, man?
I'm good, man. Good, man. Wait, did we? Oh man, did we run into each other a shot?
Yeah. We saw each other a shot. It was
no.
Just a hot second.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was blazing through shot this year. It was crazy.
Yeah, but I was only there one day. Well, 2 days. Came in for media day. Checked out what was going on with some new products, and then hit the show floor for 1 day.
Really? Anything stand out?
And, man, the most amazing thing I saw was I don't know if you see right back here. I got a little MPX.
I see that. I see it. It's kind of nice. I kind of like it.
but it's really nicer when you. I was over at an industry day, and Franklin Armory had their binary trigger. Oh my God!
Really?
The thing is incredible. So with the binary triggers, or Bostech calls it an echo, but with the binary trigger, you get one trigger pull when you pull it, and then when you release it, you get another one. Now, if your target's down or you don't want the second shot, you can just throw it into either safe or semi. So yeah, it's got three positions, no ATF letter. Yes, it goes from no pew to pew to pew 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 pew. Yes, a happy switch.
And Lord knows I love my pew.
Where's my hat? Now you got a new hat. I don't even have an old one.
These are one-offs, man. I haven't even started selling these yet.
That's tight.
Yeah. They're coming though. They're coming. I promise.
You know I'm a hat man.
Yeah, clearly so am I too.
Right.
People always wonder what I look like without my hat on, so I'll let everybody else. Yeah, right. But no, man. So, go ahead.
No, I said you brought out my Goodfellas laugh. So, bro, you got to take it off.
I mean, I got. Man, there's really nothing special on the hair. Just big ass forehead and a set of hair. Like I don't.
Hey. Oh, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, but so what did you? How did you get into shooting initially?
So, actually, my father, who's a Vietnam veteran, he was in the Air Force. And he's always okay. We go back to my grandfather. My grandfather was a St. Louis detective. My father was in the Air Force, so I've got a rich history of military law enforcement. And so at 7 years old, I had to learn about firearm safety, and it's something I passed on too. I believe that anytime a child is old enough to cross the street by themselves, I'm not saying at 7 years old everybody's supposed to be shooting a gun. We know some 37-year-olds who shouldn't be shooting a gun. But I'm saying if the child is old enough to cross the street, that means they can go over to Billy or Johnny or Colion's house, and Billy and Johnny's parents may not have firearms that are secured properly.
Yeah, don't send your kids to my house.
Right. one in every nook and cranny.
No, seriously.
So what I'm saying, my father, 7 years old, taught me how to use a firearm safely, or taught me about firearm safety, and then I started shooting later. So I've always had an appreciation and a respect for the shooting sports.
Gotcha.
We'd shoot, cans, out in the field or whatever. And then later on, I got into law enforcement. Of course, that meant more shooting, practice, And then later in life, I found competition shooting. About 10 years ago, I fell in love with IPSC and USPSA. IPSC, International Practical Shooting Confederation, USPSA, United States Practical Shooting Association. So with the IPSC, it's really nice because now I plan my vacations around shooting. Like I've represented the U.S. in Brazil, Jamaica, Thailand, hoping this year go to Germany. So it's a blast. I mean,
you're like a Mel Carmen Sandiego with a gun,
right?
I don't know. A lot of people are too young to know that reference, but
in the world is Chip shooting.
Right. So what is it about? I rarely meet a non-passionate competition shooter. All of you guys are very passionate about what you do. What is it about competition shooting that fuels that?
Because it's one of those things where it's not based on necessarily your overall physical conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
not the biggest guy. I remember, I remember somebody with the initial CN at shot 2016 called me short.
I didn't call you short. I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
I just said you were my height as well,
Okay.
which
No.
it would be more or less short. But
Right. But we don't normally get picked first for the basketball team, right?
oh, I got picked
But
third.
with shooting sports, I mean, you can practice the craft, you can really improve, and you can really compete at a high level. I mean, you do have to be physically fit
Yeah.
because all the things I'm talking about are all running, moving, and shooting. Although I have a student, I have a paraplegic student. He's in a wheelchair and he
Yeah.
competes. So that's the thing. There's different levels for everybody,
Yeah.
but it's a fair field.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And there's nothing like. I mean, you see. I mean, I'm here in the gun room. I got my reloading equipment behind me,
Yeah.
and there's a lot more to it than just picking up a gun and shooting. I mean, I have to make my ammo especially for my firearm. So there's a lot that goes into it, and plus it keeps up my skills for self-defense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you mentioned reloading. I hear a lot of people say that reloading is kind of like cooking and that it can be incredibly relaxing. Is that what you've noticed in your experience with reloading?
It is. I'm not a
Really?
big cook, but I compare it to like I like doing the snow or mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
It's thinking time. It's good thinking time. It's where it's just you and your machine,
Mhm.
and you can really get into it. Just
Awesome.
relax. It is.
Yeah. I mean, I
It is.
can't.
Now you got a reason to come to Chicago.
Which is very, 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 very true. I definitely need to come to Chicago. And we're gonna touch on Chicago here in the next segment. But what I wanted to talk about too is when did you realize that you actually had a talent? When did it strike you as like, I'm actually pretty good at this competition shooting thing, and I think I might take this as far as I can.
Well, when I think it started when pretty early on. I started there was a small training group here that actually I took a lesson with so that I could get the basic rules and such. And then when I started actually beating the people I was instructing, I was like, oh, this kind of rocks. I can kind of go with it. You know? And that was part of why I started Top Shot Academy too, because
Gotcha.
so I'm not going to mention names. This group they were good for entry level things. They were good for like teaching the rules and
Yeah.
stance. But when it went beyond that, they really seemed to be lacking. I taught, when I was with the police department, I taught, and I've taught, in the civilian life. And so a lot of people like the way I teach,
Yeah.
and I love teaching. I especially love, not only do I like teaching, competitive shooters, military, and law enforcement, but my passion is, because I know you got your law degree.
Yeah.
You don't talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
But
I
I
know,
love
but
teaching the law of self-defense because that's where a lot of people get in trouble, is it's easy to pull the trigger,
Mhm.
but a lot of people don't understand what to do, first of all, to avoid pulling that trigger, what to do afterwards,
Yeah.
so that after you've defended your life, you don't end up in court defending your liberty.
It's interesting. I think in a lot of ways the self-defense laws are, and probably rightfully so, they're geared not to our favor as people who might need them who use guns for self-defense. And here's why. When we're talking about self-defense, we're already behind the curve. We're usually reacting. Whereas cops, they get called to the scene of the crime. Whereas citizens, we're reacting to something that's already got to drop on us to a degree. And so we're behind that ball, or behind that curve, so to speak. But then on top of that, there's so many things that we have to factor in our minds. Like you just said, is this a good shoot? Is this a justified use of the level of force that I'm going to be engaging in if I decide to pull my firearm? What's around me? What other factors and measures that I have to think about? Just a myriad of things that the person who's attacking us doesn't have to concern themselves with.
Right.
So it makes me angry when you have legislators and politicians, people who try to make it even harder with respect to gun control laws than it already is for us to use firearms to defend ourselves. I just think it's kind of evil if you really think about it. But
It is. Yeah, because whenever they talk about gun control, they don't talk about taking guns from the criminals. They talk
Yeah.
about taking guns from us. Or like
Yeah.
you said, that's their idea of gun control.
Yeah, it drives me insane, man. And I wish they would understand and look at things from our perspective and understand the things that we have to consider, in which you know a lot about, because you like you said, you like to teach the intricacies of self defense, because they're not as clear as a lot of people like to think. And I mean, hell, cops' jobs are hard in terms of determining when's a good time to shoot, and they're getting called out to the scene.
Right.
You know, whereas us, it's hell, I could be sitting here and before I know it, something could happen, and I have to make a split decision. And then I have to think about, okay, well, is this justified? What's the scenario? Am I truly in fear of my life? You know, things of that nature, and rightfully so. It's just that I just wish people understood and put in. If you can't empathize, sympathize with the idea of what actually does it take to defend and use a gun to defend yourself. That's going to be my soapbox for this segment.
Amen to that. Amen to jump on top of that soapbox.
But we're gonna get on another soapbox when I come back from break. I want to talk to you a little bit about Chicago and the epidemic of violence in Chicago. If there's anybody who's in a position to talk about that, it would be you. I read an article that you wrote concerning you carrying a firearm and why you do it, and I want to talk about that when we come back from break.